When Jessica reappeared in my wife Maylee's life, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, people bump into old friends all the time, right? She told me they used to work together back in Ohio, some little diner off the highway near Dayton. Maylee said they hadn't talked in years, just drifted like people do, and then out of nowhere, bam, they're both signed up at the same gym here in Arizona. It felt random. Harmless. At first. I remember the way Maylee told me about it, grinning like it had genuinely made her day. "You'll never guess who I ran into today," she said, coming home with that flushed post-workout look. "Jessica. From the diner. Like, my favorite person back then. She's living here now." She said it like fate had stepped in. I was halfway through folding laundry and just nodded, smiling the way you do when your spouse reconnects with someone. I didn't ask many questions. In fact, I said something like, "That's awesome. You two catching up?" "Yeah," she said, casual, breezy. "She's in my yoga class, actually. We're gonna grab smoothies after next week." And that was that. At least for a little while. But things shifted after that day. It was subtle at first, like the hum of an appliance you don't notice until it stops. Jessica started showing up more and more. I'd come home from work and there'd be her car in the driveway, some dusty red Subaru that always seemed a little out of place next to Maylee's sleek black RV4. Sometimes I'd hear them laughing in the kitchen, voices hushed as soon as I walked in. Other times they'd be out back on the patio, sitting under the string lights we put up last spring. Maylee always said they reminded her of bistros we saw in San Diego. I remember seeing them there once, barefoot, glasses of wine in hand, legs draped over patio chairs like they'd been out there for hours. When I opened the sliding door, their laughter just stopped. The weirdest part was how they'd recover. Too fast. Too synchronized. Jessica would offer a grin and raise her glass, and Maylee would shoot me that same performative smile she used when her mom called unexpectedly. "Hey babe," she'd say, like I just interrupted something that wasn't meant for me. "Jess was just telling me about her insane coworker. You wouldn't believe this guy." And I'd smile back, but something always felt a little off. One night in particular stands out. I wasn't supposed to be home until 10. I'd picked up a second shift covering for someone, but the guy ended up showing after all. So I swung by that Thai place Maylee likes and figured I'd surprise her. I pulled into the driveway and saw the back patio lights glowing. The glass doors were open and I heard laughter, music, the sound of wine glasses clinking. I walked around the side of the house quietly, not because I was sneaking, just didn't want to ruin the moment. But the second I stepped onto the patio, it was like I'd slammed a door shut on the vibe. Both of them froze. Jessica had her legs curled up on the chair, Maylee was mid-laugh, and when they saw me, it was like someone cut the volume. Maylee reached for her phone on the little wicker table between them just as it buzzed. She glanced at the screen, then flipped it face down. That one motion, it stuck with me. I raised a brow. "Everything good?" Maylee looked up and smiled too wide. "It's just sending me memes." "You're home early." "Surprise," I said, holding up the takeout bag. "Got your favorite." Her eyes lit up for a split second, then she looked at Jessica, then back at me. "That's sweet, babe. We were just unwinding." Jessica stood up and stretched like she hadn't a care in the world. "I should head out anyway," she said, brushing imaginary crumbs from her jeans. "Early spin class tomorrow." She left quickly. Too quickly. After that night, the air around Maylee changed. She started getting more into fitness. New gym shoes. Matching workout sets. She downloaded a meal tracker and made this whole show of logging her lunches. At first, I encouraged her, thought she was just embracing something good. But then came the locked gym bag. The tower sessions where she came home barely winded. The scent of perfume she didn't use when she was just with me. And her phone? That changed too. One morning, I reached for it to check the time. My phone was charging across the room. I hadn't even thought about it. But the screen was locked. It hadn't been locked before. Not with a passcode, anyway. She walked in and saw me holding it and froze for just a second, long enough for me to see something flicker across her face. "Everything okay?" I asked. She smiled, shrugged. "Just changed the settings. Had some weird spam stuff happening. You know how it is." She said it so breezily. Like it wasn't a thing at all. But it was. And from that moment, I started paying more attention. I started noticing how she never left her phone unattended anymore. How she'd take it with her even when she went to the bathroom. How she used to text in front of me, laughing at dumb memes, but now all her texts seemed to happen in silence, behind closed doors. And Jessica? Well, she became part of the landscape. A ghost that haunted the edge of our marriage. Maylee kept saying things like, "I'm just so glad she's around again. It's nice having someone who gets it, you know?" And I'd nod, smile, pretend to understand what it was. But I didn't. Not yet. Looking back, the signs were everywhere, I just didn't recognize them for what they were. Because I trusted Maylee. Blindly, stupidly, in that I know my wife kind of way that makes you feel safe until it doesn't. It started small. Comments, dropped like breadcrumbs, always leading somewhere if I had only known to follow them. One day she came home from brunch with Jessica and I asked how it went. She lit up talking about it, like really lit up, the way she used to when we first started dating and she'd come back from seeing her sisters. Jess is just so grounded, she said. Nathan treats her like a queen. Spa day vouchers out of nowhere, little handwritten notes in her lunchbox. Like, full-on rom-com husband energy. I chuckled, trying not to take it personally. Guess he's raising the bar for the rest of us, huh? She tilted her head, smiled. He just gets her. You know. At first, I thought she was venting. Everyone compares sometimes. But it didn't stop there. She started talking about Nathan more than Jessica. Not in a crush kind of way, more like he was the prototype of something she wished I was. He doesn't ask questions, she said one evening as we did dishes. Jess can go out with her friends, be gone all day, and he's never blowing up her phone. He just trusts her. Gives her space. I paused, rinsing a plate. You feel like I don't give you space? No, she said too quickly. No, not like that. I'm just saying it's cool, you know? When someone just lets you be. Then came the schedule changes. Out of nowhere, Maylee wanted me to find my own rhythm, her words, not mine. She started encouraging me to go out more, see friends, hit the gym, take solo hikes. All stuff she used to complain we didn't do together. You should pick up a hobby again, she told me one night while scrolling on her phone. Remember when you played pickup basketball with the guys every Thursday? Yeah, I said. But I liked spending my evenings with you. She didn't answer. Just kept scrolling. Next came her fitness journey. It started as gym sessions a few days a week, which made sense. Jessica was a certified trainer, apparently. But before long, Maylee was gone more than she was home. Evening yoga. Early morning hikes. Boot camp Saturdays. Always with Jess. Always something that couldn't be rescheduled. She bought a new gym bag. I only saw inside it once: protein bars, extra socks, travel deodorant, a small pack of makeup remover wipes. No workout clothes. Not even a sports bra. I remember thinking it was weird at the time but brushing it off. Maybe she kept that stuff in the trunk? Speaking of the trunk, I stopped helping with groceries around then because she insisted on keeping everything organized. One time I popped it open without thinking, trying to shove in a bag of oranges, and she slammed it shut so fast it actually startled me. There's glass back there, she said. Wine bottles. For book club. She didn't belong to a book club. But I didn't press. I just let it go. She encouraged me to start journaling. I don't even know where that came from. One morning over coffee she goes, you know what'd help your sleep? Writing stuff out. Getting in touch with your thoughts. Since when are you a therapist? I read it in a blog, she said, shrugging. Jessica's husband Nathan journals every morning. It's supposed to build emotional discipline. I swear, if I had taken a sh*t every time she said his name, I'd have been blackout drunk by mid-October. It was around then that I started keeping track of the coincidences. The gym nights that ran too long. The hikes where nobody posted photos. The one time she came home wearing a band-aid on her neck and told me it was a bug bite. In November. And all the while, she kept encouraging me to trust her. Emphasizing it. Making a show of it. You don't need to worry, babe, she'd say, kissing me quickly before heading out. I'm with Jess. I'm safe. Trust me. The last time she said it, she even added, I love you. That's when I knew something was off. I don't mean I thought something was off, I mean I felt it in my chest like a weight that refused to shift. She hadn't said I love you before leaving the house in weeks. And when she finally did, it sounded like a quote she was trying to memorize. Like she was practicing it for someone else. One night I came home early and found her sitting on the couch, freshly showered, in clothes I hadn't seen before. Casual, but crisp. She jumped when I walked in, her laptop slamming shut before I could see what was on it. Didn't hear you come in, she said, standing up quickly. I was just about to make dinner. I walked over to the counter. 2 wine glasses. One had lipstick. Hers. The other didn't. Just stopped by, she said, catching my eye. She just left. Cool, I said, not asking anything. But inside, the puzzle pieces started to form a picture I didn't want to see. A few days later, her car needed servicing. She borrowed mine. I didn't think much of it until I picked hers up from the mechanic and realized she'd left her old gym fob on the dashboard. Just sitting there. Outdated. Unused. I asked her that night, hey, do you still go to that FitCore gym with Jess? She looked up from her phone, startled. Yeah. Why? No reason. Just curious. Saw your old fob in the car. Oh, she said, blinking too fast. They upgraded. We use an app now. I nodded. But the next day, I Googled it. Ficor still used key fobs. No app. That's when I stopped trusting what came out of her mouth. Not because she lied once, but because once you catch someone in a pointless lie, you start realizing how easy it must be for them to do it again. She started taking walks without headphones. Said she liked being alone with her thoughts. Except one time I passed her while driving back from the store. She didn't see me. She was talking animatedly to someone on the phone. Her face flushed, lips curled up in that smile I hadn't seen directed at me in weeks. I slowed down, wondering if I was being paranoid. Maybe it was Jess. Maybe it was her sister. Maybe? But then she laughed, threw her head back, slapped her thigh the way she always did when she was really enjoying herself. And I knew. I knew I wasn't the one she wanted to come home to anymore. I was the placeholder, the shell, the audience for a version of herself that had already moved on. She still said all the right things. Still kissed me goodnight. Still texted love you, be safe when I left for work. But it wasn't real. It wasn't ours. It was performance. Rehearsal. Something to justify the quiet storm she was quietly unleashing behind the scenes. She wasn't asking me to trust her. She was daring me to. There's a strange kind of clarity that comes when you stop trying to convince yourself you're imagining things. When the voice in your head stops whispering and just flat out tells you, this is real. This is happening. For weeks, I'd lived in a fog of uncertainty, second-guessing my instincts, giving her the benefit of the doubt, trying to find the line between healthy suspicion and full-blown paranoia. But deep down, I already knew. My marriage wasn't just cracking, it was being carved apart behind my back. One smile. One locked phone. One excuse at a time. What I didn't know, what I needed to know, was who. There's always a who. Up until that point, I assumed it might be someone new. A stranger from the gym or a coworker Jessica introduced her to. I never once considered the possibility that it might be him. That it might be Nathan. Jessica's husband. I still remember the night everything collapsed. It was a Thursday. Maylee had told me she was heading out for a late-night yoga class with Jessica. One of those candlelit sessions at some boutique studio. Very grounding, she'd said. You should try it sometime. I smiled, said I might. She packed her mat, filled her metal water bottle, sprayed on a mist that smelled more like perfume than eucalyptus. Then she kissed me on the cheek, just the cheek, and walked out the door. I waited 10 minutes before I moved. I'd planned for this. I had her spare car key, the one we kept taped inside a kitchen drawer. She didn't know I'd found it. I didn't tell her I'd started watching patterns. I didn't say that I'd mapped out all the gyms in town and knew which ones didn't offer candlelit yoga after 8 p.m. I just grabbed the key, got in my truck, and followed. She drove confidently, no detours, no glances in the mirror, no hesitation. I kept my distance. Enough to be invisible, not enough to lose her. I knew the city well enough to anticipate the lights. At first, she stayed on the freeway like she was headed downtown. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd have to pull over. Every mile I followed her, a different part of me hoped I was wrong. That I'd feel stupid and ashamed that she really was going to yoga. That I'd end up being the crazy, insecure husband she could laugh about later. But that hope died when she exited 2 stops early, just before the district where the hotel chains start. She didn't go to a gym. She pulled into a La Quinta Inn off the access road. It was nondescript. Forgettable. Tucked behind a strip mall with a flickering vacancy sign and a few palm trees that couldn't quite make the place look respectable. She parked around the side. A corner spot out of view from the main road. That's when I saw him. Nathan. He was already standing outside the passenger side door like he'd been waiting. He didn't check over his shoulder. Didn't hesitate. Just opened the door for her like it was some regular date night. She stepped out laughing about something. They hugged like it wasn't their first time. Her hand lingered on his shoulder a little too long. Then they walked toward the side entrance together. No luggage. No phone call. No pause to look around. They'd done this before. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. I sat in my truck and stared at the door they disappeared through, feeling something inside me go completely still. Like the part of my brain responsible for denial had finally flipped off. She wasn't just betraying me. She wasn't just lying about where she was. She was sleeping with Jessica's husband. And somehow that made everything worse. It wasn't just cheating. It was strategy. She'd used Jessica as a shield. Talked about Nathan like he was some glowing example of marital excellence, planting the idea in my head that she admired him as if that made everything normal. Meanwhile, they were sneaking around, setting up late-night rendezvous, probably using Jessica as the alibi for both of them. I thought of every story Maylee had told me over the past month. Every time she mentioned Jessica giving her advice. Every compliment about how secure Nathan was. Every innocent, casual reference. She wasn't admiring their marriage. She was copying it. Or what it looked like on the surface. Nathan didn't call Jessica all the time because he was already occupied with my wife. Maylee didn't ask me to get out more just for space. She was manufacturing gaps. Making room for the affair to breathe without tripping over my routines. It wasn't random. It was orchestrated. I sat in the truck for over an hour watching that door, waiting to see if either of them came out. They didn't. The lights in their wing of the hotel went dim. At some point, I realized I was gripping the steering wheel so tight my hands hurt. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even get out. I just sat there and stared into the dark. And I thought about all the nights she came home smelling like wine and eucalyptus. All the times she said, "It's just Jess." And it was just not in the way I thought. When I got home that night, I didn't say a word. Maylee came in around midnight, hair tied up, gym bag over her shoulder. She looked energized. The kind of relaxed glow you don't get from Downward Dog. She smiled. "You're still up. Couldn't sleep." "Class was amazing," she said, slipping off her sneakers. "I wish you'd come sometime. You'd really like the instructor." I just nodded. I didn't say anything else. Neither did she. And somehow that silence said more than any confrontation ever could. Because in that moment I realized this wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't even just about S***X. It was about control. About manipulation. She hadn't cheated by accident. She'd built a system to justify it, to normalize it, to make me feel like the controlling, insecure husband who couldn't keep up with her enlightened, emotionally mature needs. She made me question my own sanity, my own value, while she ran off to someone else's husband. And for what? To feel seen? To play house with someone who already had one? I stayed quiet for the next few days. I needed time. Not to forgive, just to prepare. I started making copies of things, photos, texts, phone records. I made notes. Dates. Details. I wasn't planning revenge. I was building a record. Because once you know the truth, really know it, it's not about catching someone in the act anymore. It's about making sure they don't twist it. That they don't get to rewrite the ending. The day after I watched Maylee walk into that hotel with Nathan, something inside me flipped. It wasn't rage, not the kind that explodes. It was colder than that. Cleaner. A sharp clarity that made everything feel eerily manageable. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't questioning what I saw, what I felt, or what she was doing. There was no need to snoop or speculate. The truth was out. The mask was off. I didn't confront her, not immediately. That was the part that surprised even me. I thought I'd be the guy pacing the living room, waiting for her to walk in so I could shout, "I know." But instead, I got up the next morning like it was any other Tuesday. Made coffee. Fed the dog. Answered emails. Maylee came downstairs in her robe, hair up in a towel, scrolling her phone. "Morning," she said, planting a kiss on my cheek. Her lips were cool, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't wrapped them around another man 12 hours earlier. "Morning," I said, calm. She poured herself coffee, humming something. I watched her carefully. Not because I wanted to catch her in a lie, but because I wanted to see how easy it had become for her to live one. Turns out it was second nature. That was the day I started making moves. I called a lawyer during my lunch break. A no-nonsense guy named Price who didn't flinch when I told him everything. He asked all the right questions, told me what documentation I'd need, and outlined what I could expect in terms of dividing property and assets. "She cheated with someone you know personally?" he asked. "Her best friend's husband." He didn't say, "I'm sorry." He didn't need to. "She'll try to downplay it," he said. "They always do. That's why we go in prepared." Prepared. That became my word. My focus. My shield. I started gathering what I needed. **TS. Receipts. Photos from that night. I even tracked down one of those cheap GPS tile tags and discreetly slipped it into the lining of her gym bag. Not out of obsession, but out of necessity. If she was going to lie to my face, I wanted the receipts to back me when she inevitably claimed I was overreacting. Over the next 2 weeks, I didn't say a word. Not about the hotel. Not about Nathan. Not about the way her fake gym classes always seemed to fall on the same evenings Jessica was working late. I played the part. The husband who was trying. The one she could still manipulate. Because the longer she thought she had the upper hand, the more careless she became. And careless she got. She stopped pretending to go to the gym. Said she was trying a new meditation studio now, one that didn't allow phones. So she'd leave hers at home sometimes. But what she didn't realize was that the location tracker I'd slipped into her bag worked just fine on its own. Twice, she went back to that same hotel. Once, she left her ring on the bathroom counter before she left. When she got home, I noticed she put it back on before even saying hello. That was the moment I knew I wasn't dealing with confusion or regret. She wasn't torn. She was gone. So I started packing her life away, quietly, one drawer at a time. Everything that was hers began to disappear from our shared space. The throw blankets she loved, boxed. Her mugs, shelved. Her books, sorted and taped shut. I moved them into the garage, labeling each box with her name. She didn't notice at first. She was so wrapped up in her second life that she didn't see the signs of her first one being dismantled. And I wasn't doing it to punish her. I just didn't want to see her things anymore. They felt like props in a play I wasn't acting in anymore. I booked a session with Price to finalize the papers. The days after I saw them at that hotel were the quietest of my life. Maylee didn't suspect a thing. Not yet. She still smiled in that distracted, rehearsed way. Still asked how my day was with the enthusiasm of someone checking a box. Still left for gym nights and came back flushed, energized, centered. If anything, she seemed lighter, like some invisible weight had lifted. I guess that's what happens when you stop pretending and just let the lie take over. But for me, something else had shifted. I'd spent weeks in my own head, doubting my instincts, convincing myself not to rock the boat. But now I was done with that. The performance was over, for me anyway. From that moment forward, every smile I returned was calculated. Every "I love you too" was a placeholder. Every nod, every kiss, every act of domestic routine was strategic. Because I wasn't going to confront her blind. I was going to prepare. First thing I did was start documenting everything. I dug out an old journal from the closet, one she'd ironically bought me as part of my self-reflection arc, and I started recording every excuse, every gym night, every fake hike. Dates, times, durations. I jotted down the moments her lies tripped over themselves. The text that didn't match the calendar. The call she didn't expect me to overhear. The one time she said she was at Jess's house and Jess posted a story from a movie theater across town. Then I checked our shared phone plan. Maylee had no idea that all texts and calls, who they were with, how long they lasted, were logged in our account. I scrolled back a month. Then 2. Then 3. Nathan's number was everywhere. Sometimes at 1 a.m. when she claimed she couldn't sleep. Sometimes during lunch breaks when she said she was zoning out at Target. I didn't even need to read the texts. I could see the shape of it. Patterns don't lie. Next, I bought a burner phone. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed something untraceable. I used it to create a fake email, one that looked like it belonged to a yoga instructor. I sent an inquiry to the studio she claimed to attend every Thursday night. The response came the next morning. "Hi, thanks for reaching out. Our candlelit yoga classes are offered Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday evenings. Let us know if you'd like to reserve a spot." Thursday. No class. Never had been. That same night, Maylee left with her yoga mat slung over her shoulder, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Don't wait up." I didn't. Instead, I called a private investigator. His name was Dylan. Former military, now private sector. Short, clipped sentences. No sugarcoating. I liked him immediately. "You sure this is what you want to do?" he asked after I gave him the basics. "I'm not here for drama," I said. "I just want the truth backed with proof." He nodded. "You'll have it." Over the next 10 days, Dylan kept me updated. I didn't ask for every detail, just enough. The photos came first. Grainy night vision *TS of Maylee's car parked in the same corner spot at the hotel. Her and Nathan entering the same side door. No luggage. No effort to hide. They knew which cameras to avoid, which time windows to use. They weren't being careless. They were being experienced. Then came the videos. Short clips. Her brushing his shoulder in the parking lot. Him opening the car door like they were something official. Her laughing in that breathless way I hadn't heard in months. It was like watching a version of her I didn't even recognize. One that didn't belong to me and probably never had. The last piece came unexpectedly. Dylan called me late one night. We got audio, he said. Parked next to them in the diner. Apparently, they'd met up for a low-key breakfast on a Tuesday morning. Maylee told me she was getting a pap smear. I listened to the recording on my back porch, earbuds in, heart numb. Nathan, she suspects anything? Maylee laughs, no. He's still journaling and folding laundry like nothing's wrong. Nathan, you're good. Maylee, I'm better than good. Something in me hardened. I wasn't angry. Not in the explosive, punch-a-wall kind of way. It was colder than that. Sharper. That's when I knew it was time. I spent the next 3 days moving money around. Nothing shady, just practical. I had my own savings, a separate account from before we were married. I made sure all the passwords were updated. I printed out bank statements. Organized my evidence into a single folder, physical copies, digital backups, timestamps, everything. Then I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer. Her name was Raina. Tough, blunt, and meticulous. She didn't waste time on sympathy. I'll need all the proof you have, she said. I slid the folder across her desk. She flipped through it silently, then looked up. This is more than enough. That night, I set the stage. I made dinner, nothing fancy, just something warm. Lit a candle. Played the playlist we used on road trips. I needed her calm, unsuspecting. Maylee came home late again. Her cheeks were flushed. Not from yoga. Oh wow, she said, setting her bag down. You cooked. Thought we could use a normal night, I said. She smiled. That's sweet. We ate. We talked. She laughed a little too hard at something I said about work. She touched my hand once as if to prove something. It was a performance. But then again, so was mine. After dinner, I poured her a glass of wine. She took a sip. This is nice. I nodded. I wanted to ask you something, actually. Sure. Where do you go on Thursday nights? She blinked. Yoga, you know that. I tilted my head. But the studio doesn't offer Thursday classes. There was a pause. Half a beat too long. I meant at Jessica's house, she said quickly. We do it at her place sometimes. Funny, I said, standing up. Because Jessica was at a spin class last Thursday. She froze. I walked to the counter, picked up the folder, and dropped it on the table in front of her. Open it. She didn't move. Open it, Maylee. She flipped it open. The photos were first. Then the logs. Then the emails. Then the transcript. By the time she reached the end, her face had drained of color. Where did you get this? She whispered. Doesn't matter. She looked up, eyes wide. It's not what it looks like. Don't, I cut in. I already know everything. I watched it happen. I gave you every chance. She stared at the table. I'm filing next week, I said. You'll be served at your office. Her lips parted. You're serious? Dead serious. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. Tears welled in her eyes. I needed something different. You wanted something secret, I said. And now it's not. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. You broke it, I said quietly. All of it. And now you don't get to decide how the story ends. She didn't argue. Didn't chase me. Just sat there, tears falling, surrounded by the wreckage of her own choices. The day she moved out, the house went silent in a way I didn't expect. Not peaceful. Not relieving. Just hollow. Like a museum after hours. All her plants were gone. Her yoga mat, her makeup drawer, the wine glasses she insisted were ours but clearly favored more than me. She didn't speak much while packing. Just sipped and folded and tried not to meet my eyes. I didn't help. I sat on the couch with my coffee, same way I had on every lazy Sunday morning, watching as she boxed up a version of herself that never really belonged to me. Right before she left, she stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame. I hope one day you'll understand, she said. I didn't answer. She waited for something, a nod, a crack, anything. I gave her silence. She walked out, the door clicking shut behind her like the end of a chapter. That first night alone I expected to unravel. But I didn't. I slept. Deeply. Like my body finally believed the threat was gone. Over the next few weeks, I started rebuilding, not out of spite, but out of necessity. I rearranged furniture, cleared out drawers, donated the throw pillows she loved that I always hated. I even replaced the patio lights. It was petty, maybe, but I couldn't stand the thought of sitting under them and remembering that laugh, that wine-drunk laugh that stopped when I came home. I went to work. I cooked for myself. I saw friends again. And for the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells in my own house. She texted me 3 times after that. The first was a simple, I'm sorry. I left it on read. The second was longer, about how she'd made a mistake, about how Nathan wasn't what she thought, about how she didn't know who she was anymore. I deleted it. The third came at 2:13 a.m. I miss you. I don't know what I was thinking. I'd give anything to go back. I didn't even open it. It's amazing how quiet a phone can be once you stop needing it to buzz. Word got around eventually. Jessica found out, of course. Whether it came from Nathan or from someone else, I don't know. All I heard was that they split. She moved out. Apparently, she had no idea. Somehow I believe her. Nathan tried calling me once. I let it ring. A mutual friend told me he was shattered. That he didn't expect to fall for her, didn't expect to lose both marriages. That he said it just happened. Sure it did. Meanwhile, Maylee moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town. I know because the lawyer needed her new address for the divorce paperwork. Clean split. No alimony. No drawn-out negotiations. She didn't fight. Maybe out of guilt? Maybe out of shame. Maybe because deep down she knew she'd already lost. She still exists, of course. I'll see her name pop up when mutuals tag old photos. She looks thinner now. Smiles smaller. Eyes a little less sure. Maybe she's learning something. Maybe she's just surviving. As for me, I'm okay. Not healed. Not over it. But okay. Some days I miss the version of her I thought I knew. The woman who danced in the kitchen barefoot, who left sticky notes on the fridge that said, "Drink water, you dehydrated raisin." But those memories feel distant now, like old clothes you can't bring yourself to wear because they don't fit who you are anymore. I'm dating again. Slowly. Cautiously. Trust doesn't come easy when you've watched someone lie to your face for months with a smile. But I'm not bitter. I'm just learning. If there's one thing I know now, it's this: love without respect isn't love. It's dependency. It's convenience. It's camouflage. And I'm done being someone else's disguise.